My boy Jay, he's in the house. Give him one more time. This is what we're talking about right here. The top 5 destinations for Kevin Durant and Giannis. You see, I got 2 lists. It ain't just one. It's 2. It's 1 for KD. It's 1 for Giannis. Bam! Both of them. The Houston Rockets.
Well, now tuned in to the Dark Times channel.
So here we go again, back with another one. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And I want to talk about some of the offseason trades that's about to go down, because it looks like the 2025 NBA offseason is probably going to be one of the wildest off seasons that we've seen in quite some time. And so recently, Stephen A. Smith and some of the members of First Take chimed in on where they think Giannis and Kevin Durant will eventually end up.
Give it to me right now. Give him number 5 on the BAM! Your KD, the Miami Heat. They need all the help they could get. They need a number 1 option. They can play D. Tyler Hero, no scrub. Bam Adebayo, no scrub. They just need a number 1 option, okay? That wasn't Jimmy Butler. We love him, but that wasn't him. That's KD.
And I think those are both good teams for each of those players. The Miami Heat could definitely use a Kevin Durant, although Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, was a number 1 option. The Miami Heat had no business making it to a championship with that roster. They had a little luck along the way, but for the most part, Jimmy Butler was the number 1 option on a team that overachieved. But no doubt about it, Kevin Durant would definitely be an upgrade offensively as a number 1 option. And then as far as Giannis goes on the Celtics, that would be a good fit. I could see in that being a good fit. And no doubt about it, I think Jaylen Brown would be the guy that they would most likely give up. And they would be able to surround Giannis with a lot of shooting. And so I can see both of those spots being good for either one of those players.
KD with Detroit. Detroit, imagine that. And Giannis with the Heat. Okay, locomotive coming at you. That just ain't top 3.
And so the Pistons, that's a good one. I would probably have the Detroit Pistons as probably the number 1 destination, the ideal destination for a Kevin Durant. Not sure that he would want to go to with Detroit, but ideally, a team like the Pistons, that's exactly what they're missing. But it seemed like they struggled offensively down the stretch in the playoffs. And so adding a player like Kevin Durant without having to give up too much, that would be ideal for the Detroit Pistons. And as far as Giannis to the Heat, that's something I really don't care for. I feel like that puts Giannis right back in a similar situation where he was with Milwaukee. But Kevin Durant to the Pistons, absolutely. But once again, Kevin Durant's going to have to agree to it. Nobody's going to trade for a 37-year-old veteran if that's not where they want to be.
Yo, give me number 3 on the list, please. Bam! Right here. The Minnesota Timberwolves of KD, him and Ant-Man. I don't need to explain it further than that. Giannis in Dallas? Lord have mercy. You're going to give up one of those bigs. But Giannis? With a flag, with a Kyrie? Lord have mercy. Yes, I got to look at that. This ain't top 2, though. Give it to me right now.
And so once again, another great fit for a Kevin Durant with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And there's not going to be too many places a 6'11" all-star, one of the most efficient scorers ever, and Kevin Durant is not going to fit in. The hard part when trying to put Kevin Durant on a team is making sure you're not giving up too much to get him. And a team like the Timberwolves, they're on the borderline. I think they could make up something. I think they could work up something in which they wouldn't give up some of that defensive identity to be able to get him. And so I think that's another good spot for him. And as far as Giannis going to the Mavericks, you can forget it. That's never going to happen. Cooper Flag is a done deal. He's a really good prospect, and there's too much hype, and there's too much money at stake. I'm pretty sure they're already sold out of tickets already. And so for those reasons, I don't see that trade materializing.
Bam! Both of them, the Houston Rockets. KD, we understand Jalen Green just ain't ready. He ain't got that kind of perimeter game, okay? Consistency. That's what you need if you email Udoka, a number 1 option. You're Giannis in Houston? That locomotive coming at you with the pieces? Shagun and those Cook and Keith Van Vliet and the boys? Oh yes, Houston would be no joke.
And so this is where it gets interesting, because Houston has everything to make this trade work. And not just for the players, not just for the salary cap, but the assets, the draft picks, and the young talent they have on that team. I think any team that's trading players, when we're talking about Giannis and trading to Kevin Durant, would want to deal with the Rockets because they have the most to offer. And then on the flip side of that, if you're a Giannis and you're looking at a coach like Ime Udoka, and with some of the young talent that they have on that roster, I think that's a place that you want to be. Same thing with Kevin Durant. You can tell they were pretty much just a player away from advancing in this year's playoffs. A player like Kevin Durant would have put them over the top, no doubt about it. Not saying that they would have went to the finals, but they definitely would have made it past the Warriors. And one thing I got to disagree with Stephen A. Smith on is if that Giannis trade goes through, Şengün won't be there. because if I'm Milwaukee, Şengün is the player that I'm calling about. And I'm hanging up the phone if it's anybody else. And then on the flip side of that, if I'm Houston, and I'm trading for Giannis, Şengün is the guy that I gotta let go, because I don't see Giannis and Şengün fitting on a roster together. Şengün is the kind of player that needs the ball in his hands to really be effective, and I don't see him developing an outside shot anytime soon. And so for that reason, I don't see a scenario in which Houston decides to keep Şengün if they're trading for Giannis, especially if you're keeping Amen Thompson, because Amen Thompson is another one that's not known for his outside shot, but also at the same time, he's a player that doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands to be effective. And so I think him and Giannis can absolutely work together. But if that deal does go through, it's going to require Şengün. And also, that's the deal that's got to go through before the draft, because I'm sure any team that's trading Giannis is going to want that number 10 pick from Houston. And so a lot of these dominoes are going to be falling sooner rather than later. And then, of course, Stephen A. Smith, being the homer that he is, he's going to rock with the New York Knicks being the preferred destination for both of these players.
Number one right here. Give it to me right now. Bam. The New York Knicks.
Knew that was
the
coming.
market.
Knew that was coming.
The Mecca. Madison Square Garden. Center stage. Jalen Brunson in the house.
And Kevin Durant is probably a lot more likely to be traded to the Knicks versus Giannis, because once again, Kevin Durant is 37 years old, and so you would assume that Phoenix Suns wouldn't expect a haul for Kevin Durant. Unlike the Milwaukee Bucks, they're going to want a lot. Probably Karl Anthony Towns for starters. And that's just for starters. And I don't think the Knicks have any draft capital to add to a trade. And then on top of that, he mentioned Jalen Brunson. I don't see Jalen Brunson and Giannis working well together. I see that working just as well as him and Damian Lillard did. I think Giannis, wherever he goes, he needs to be the alpha. He needs to be the primary ball handler on that team, at least in the beginning, at least till he starts to wind down, or at least show signs of him winding down. But right now, he's right smack dead in the middle of his prime. And so unless they're going to trade for Jalen Brunson, which I don't think that's going to happen, the Knicks seem to love Jalen Brunson, so I don't see that happening. And so for those reasons, I don't see Giannis Antetokounmpo being a good fit for the New York Knicks. Despite what Stephen A's heart may tell him, that's not going to happen. But like I said earlier, a lot of these dominoes are going to be falling sooner rather than later, just because the timing of everything. The draft is right around the corner, and you have teams with multiple draft picks in the first round that are willing to trade for Kevin Durant and willing to trade for Giannis. And so a lot of these deals are going to be going down within the next few weeks. But that's my take on it. Make sure you guys go ahead and chime in below. And as usual, peace and chaos.